Hi, I'm Sifi. I talk to researchers about what drives them and what they're passionate about. What's your name and what are you studying?
My name is Spencer Delgado Kukuchka, and I'm studying chemical engineering at Caltech.
What's your process when you're trying to learn something new?
I typically start really, really slow and think a lot. I find that normally, if somebody's teaching you, if they're a really good teacher, they'll be really good at adapting to the student's viewpoint. But no matter what, they'll come at it with their own viewpoint as they're sharing with you. And I always find that the first thing to do is to be a really, really good listener and try to adapt what they're saying to a point of view that really feels natural to yourself. And that's the point where you can really have the ability to ask really intelligent questions because you know then what kind of gaps in understanding you might have in order to properly kind of communicate with somebody else and hope for their guidance.
Which single habit do you think has contributed most to your growth?
The habit that's contributed the most to my growth has been feeling grateful for feedback. I have a bit of experience as a dancer. I've heard it a few times that dancers are known for being really, really good at taking feedback because that's just known as the only way you grow. If you go to a dance class and you do everything great and the teacher just kind of looks at you and like gives a thumbs up and moves on, that might make you feel really good in the moment, make you feel confident. But the reality is that the only time you're actually going to improve is when the teacher sees something wrong with you and is kind enough to actually use sort of their wisdom. So they might be able to see what the mistake is, and using their eyes, they can tell you what's wrong and help you correct that. It's really important that when you receive feedback like that, you're just kind of as a blanket rule, you're supposed to smile and say thank you. And it's a great habit because you want to encourage them to feel comfortable giving you feedback, and you want to be a good listener and take that feedback well and apply it. Say the habit of just treating feedback as something to be grateful for rather than something that might hurt your ego or hurt your self-esteem is the best habit for this.
Can you walk me through your process of coming up with new ideas and keeping your creativity alive?
I like to spend a lot of time inside my own mind, not necessarily in a meditative way, but just going on walks and really thinking. And I give myself a lot of freedom to maybe go down tunnels in my mind, or to just kind of be like, okay, I have another task to do, we should move on now. And I sort of feel free to let my mind wander very naturally. And this is something I do often. The result is that it keeps me very, very in touch with my own spirit. And I don't very often feel disconnected from myself. I need to just feel very aligned with like who I am at all moments. And in these thoughts is where a lot of my creativity comes from.
What drives you to keep learning even when things get challenging?
For me, learning is just a passion. I couldn't imagine a world where I'm not learning something. In the face of when things are challenging, it's just a matter of how you're viewing a challenge. The idea of being uncomfortable in a challenge isn't necessarily a thing that's inherently a problem and needs to be avoided or solved. And in many cases, being slightly uncomfortable is actually a healthy sign of that's exactly where you should be, because that's when you can grow the most and learn the most. Of course, there's still a balance of you have to be practical. You can't just like always be at maximum discomfort because there's limits to what's healthy levels of pushing oneself and what challenges to face. And then when you are facing bigger challenges, that's sort of where being very self-aligned, it's really important to be very confident that this is a challenge that's worth facing. You can only do that if you know why you're facing it, you know what your limits are, and you know what you want to get out of solving this challenge. Self-alignment is really key to remain in high spirits and good morale as you face a challenge and hopefully come out having learned from it.
What's a project you're currently working on that you're really passionate about?
My PhD project is something I'm very passionate about. The motivation to do a PhD was towards the end goal of being able to work on the kind of chemistries out in the real world that I feel passionate will make a difference. And right now I'm hoping to apply for sustainable and synthetic fuel companies after I graduate. And I'm starting to learn a little bit about this and thinking about sort of a future project where I'm working to build real infrastructure that can take sustainable energy and carbon dioxide from the air and be able to produce a lot of the important fuels that human society relies on in a sustainable way that help alleviate a lot of our dependence on fossil fuels and add a lot of flexibility and variety to the fuel economy.
Who is your supervisor and how has he influenced or shaped your academic journey?
My advisor is Karthish Mantharam. He approaches a good balance of leaving a lot of freedom for the student to really develop and grow, not only in their science, but in their ability to make decisions. I think philosophically, he sees a PhD as not just a place for you to show up, work a billion hours, and do a ton of science, but it's a place where you're supposed to learn how to direct the science. And he makes it clear when he comes in that he wants your input on project directions, and he really gives you a lead. He's always there to give lots of feedback, and he has great feedback to give, but he wants to see that you're training yourself not just in how to do experiments, but how to think about what the next steps are. If you did this experiment, why did you do it, and how does it affect your decisions moving forward? What I've seen both for myself and for others who've graduated this lab in the past is they stand out as excellent decision makers. Seeing that real ability to look at the big picture and make executive decisions towards a project goal is not a skill that's unique to our lab, but I think it's something that stands out from the way Karthik trains us, and I'm super grateful for it.
What's the best advice that someone has given you?
There was a visiting professor, Astrid Mueller, from the University of Rochester, and she was talking about you have to know yourself very well, and when you make decisions, make them very consciously, and that's the only way that you're going to be able to look in the mirror and live with your decisions and be happy. So the idea of, can you have it all? And her answer was a decisive no. It's not possible to have it all. You have to make decisions about what you value most and make trade-offs. And it's only by knowing yourself very well that when you see that you've traded something away and you don't actually have this one aspect that would be nice to have, you have to be able to look in the mirror and know, well, you don't have this because there was something you valued more and you made the right decisions to have that. We all have limited time and limited career paths that we can choose. I hope that I can mimic the same strength and confidence in my decisions.
How do you typically find yourself meeting new people around campus?
Definitely in our first year, there's sort of a big sprint of everybody's happy to be here and socializing with everybody because there's orientation and everybody's in classes that are in their departments mandatory for some core classes for everybody's program. It slows down a bit actually after the beginning of first year. If people fall into just the rhythm of their PhD work, but there's not too much meeting new people. There's ways to be involved in the department of if you're helping run orientations, you get to meet all the new students every year. So have a point, kind of pick up a hobby for maybe health reasons or just because you need sort of an outlet as you work really hard on your PhD. And through these hobbies is also a good chance to meet other people.
How do you see the relationship between working hard and working smart? And how do you personally navigate that balance?
Knowing why you're doing something, as that's the best way to inform how you do it. If you want to achieve a huge research output because you're deeply passionate about the direction that you're working on, then putting more time often does solve the way. You do have to be smart about it because having the ability to sort of step back and see the big picture is sort of what I would call working smart. And sometimes there's no shortcuts, you just need to solve something, and other times taking that step back will reveal to you that there is maybe a better path that might bring you to your goals faster. You can't avoid working hard. When you know you need to enter that phase of working really hard, it's important to sort of plan what that phase looks like and make all the decisions before you start it. For 2 weeks, I just need to have horrible hours and get this done. So at the end of those 2 weeks, you can then look back, see the work you've accomplished, and make sure you give yourself that rest. Evaluate what's happened and are you working the smartest that you can.
What ways do you see your research will make an impact in this world?
Researching electrochemical hydroformylation, which is an organic electrosynthetic reaction. My research specifically is focusing on using aqueous electrolytes to do the electroorganic synthesis on very nonpolar substrates that have solubility issues in the electrolytes. For most electrochemistry, you want a really nice, salty, highly polar electrolyte. Aqueous electrolyte, from a theoretical standpoint, going to give you the best energy efficiency. They just have the highest ionic conductivity and highest dielectric constants. They can dissolve salts really well. There's a lot of organic chemistry that drives modern life as we know it. It's important that we have the ability to do electroorganic synthesis. These reactions are done in polar organic solvents, are the right middle ground for being able to actually dissolve nonpolar substrates while still maintaining enough polarity to do electrochemistry. I'm integrating the nonpolar substrates into the aqueous electrolyte that they're not soluble in as an emulsion, breaking up these sort of oily substrate into small droplets to make an emulsion. But the electrolytes I work with in lab look a lot like milk, actually, which is an emotion itself. Milk distributes fat through media, and that's how it becomes nutritious. And it's sort of the same thing for the electrolyte. I'm distributing the nonpolar oil through the aqueous electrolyte, hoping to get the best of both worlds of good solubility and transport of the organic substrate, as well as maintaining the high energy efficiency and the cleanliness that we get of an aqueous electrolyte. What I really like about my project is the translatability of this principle. Water is sort of the hallmark of green chemistry because of how clean and safe it is. So being able to advance our understanding of how to do nonpolar reactions in water, hopefully going to extend beyond just my demonstrate safe, clean, cheap electrolytes, as well as solvent systems for other chemistries as well.
That was great. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.